Hello everyone.
Good day, everybody.
We've said that so many times before, so we're going to repeat it
Once
again,
again.
once again. There are certain building blocks or elements in our spiritual journey, in our spiritual life, that are really so important, and we constantly return to it and we talk about it and we share what we experience around it. And maybe the most important of those building blocks for us is our contemplative practice, our silent practice, our meditation. Whether it's 20 minutes, and we are talking about a formal practice. One gets informal practices as well, where you live with deep awareness in the course of your day. But the formal practice of meditation, where you have a set time and you go about it in a disciplined way, and you constantly return to that. When everything else fails, that is the place where we return to for things to be digested, for the processes to take place. What is happening when nothing is happening? It's a powerful, powerful practice to such an extent that we can't be without it. When that falls away, um, the basis of our contemplative spirituality and life to a large degree crumbles as well.
I would definitely say that it's not negotiable.
Yes.
And I think once you get into the habit of it, for me, it's always the most difficult to to get a specific space for something new in my life, and then to get it to become a habit. That's the most difficult part. But from then on, it becomes an indispensable and a non-negotiable for me.
Because one sees and you experience the fruit of it in daily life. Not always initially. Initially, it can feel dry, it can feel, and all those well-known phrases, I'm not getting it right, I'm no good at it, all those can pop up.
It doesn't work for me.
It doesn't work for me, I'm not a meditative type of person. All those things, but if we stick to it in a disciplined way, trust us on the sunscreen.
It is. I'm trying to get the word now, but it's like small little layers being. It's like sediment that's being put down.
Yes.
Put down. Yeah.
It's really, it is so important to live a full, rich life. It really helps. It helps in the way we approach difficulties and challenges and so on. It's really.
Why would you say it has that effect?
Well, I don't want to run ahead, but it ties into the fact that on a very deep level, and now I'm talking from personal experience, is I'm not doing this alone. I tap into something that is flowing like a deep, quiet current underneath everything and through everything and so on. And without the meditative practice, I'm not aware of that current. But through the meditative practice, I tap into that. And when I tap into that, everything becomes different. It's not me that, it's not I that have to find all the solutions and have to sort things out. it's much more organic. It's much more flowing. I get into the flow of things. If if that helps in terms of that.
I think in terms of how we do it practically, like we said, a set time in the day works well. And then for me, I sort of set aside an hour, but the physical practice would be around about 20 minutes before going into the practice. And I basically use centering prayer as my practice. I would maybe for 10 minutes or so just sit and read in a book that I might be busy with at that stage, just to also calm mine is in the early afternoons, early evenings. So I've had a busy day and I just need to sort of lower my energy, my busy mind. And then I will go into a body scan, just from my head, just go through my body to find where the tension is sort of making me feel not at ease, and then I'll just relax with breathing until I feel that my body is relaxed, and then I will go into the centering prayer practice with my sacred word, which is a word of showing my intent to sit in stillness with God, to rest in God. And that word is almost like a windshield wiper. It's not a mantra, but you would, while you're sitting and thoughts come into your mind, you will use your word to clean the windscreen and just to go back to the silence inside you. So it's like we said, is sometimes, especially when you start out with a practice, you have this feeling that I'm now really doing something great and God is going to show up in some spectacular fashion. I'm going to hear God's voice, or I'll have some revelation.
Because I'm now very, very centered.
Yes. So I'm actually sitting there, not not just resting. I'm sitting there with some expectation. And for that reason, I would say, for a very long time, it felt to me like nothing was happening. Until, I think again, it was also in that sediment being laid down, is I came to the realization how wonderful it was just to rest in God. To just, for that period of time, just surrender myself and just to float and not worry about a thing, not think about a thing. And then it became such a rich place to be.
And maybe just what I want to reiterate is the fact that the meditation is not exactly the same as prayer. Even silent prayer, in terms of sitting and
praying
wordless.
Yeah, but you're having thoughts.
Your thoughts.
Yeah, you're praying with thoughts, not
without words.
With audible words.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm praying with thoughts. Because what I found is, I think there's a place for that type of prayer, obviously. But what I found is, being so hooked on my thoughts in general, in terms of outcome, in terms of finding solutions, in terms of evaluating my performance, in terms of ticking off boxes and prayer lists and so on, even in my thought prayer, I get snagged with in my thoughts. And they become so overwhelming that I'm not that aware of God as I am in meditation. Because meditation helps me to be relieved from my overactive thought processes. And I found that even in my thought prayers, I get snagged in my thoughts.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Um,
Yeah.
so now I can do the meditation, and flowing from that, my prayers is different. There's a different base to that.
Comes from a different place.
It comes from a different place. So the meditation place my prayers uh, uh, in whatever form they may take place. It places it on a different basis. So that is my experience.
I also think that when you do the meditation as a contemplative practice, and it doesn't happen immediately, but you gradually realize that you are seeing life differently. You are
Yes.
experiencing life differently. It's like you're looking through a different pair of lenses.
Yeah.
And I think, and that Cynthia Bourgeau says it beautifully, is that we are seeing oneness because we are
Seeing
we
from.
are seeing from oneness.
Yes.
So you become aware, and on a very deep level, and I think it happens not where the thoughts are.
Yes.
We become aware of being one with everything.
Yes.
Being in, like you said, this current. We are in the current. We are the current. We are held in the current.
Because we are part of God,
Yeah.
which flows through everything and carries everything.
Yeah. And
Through
then
Him.
you also
Yeah.
look through eyes that see it that way.
Yeah. And I think that is the value of the meditation that you touched on, is you have your meditation, and it is this deep sense of resting in God. And one can say, all right, I'll stop there. So it helps me to become really relaxed. It's a good relaxer in a very stressful day, but it's more than that. The meditation is more than a relaxer. The meditation,
It's not like a trick to relax yourself.
no. The meditation is part of a much more subtle, subversive process taking place. And it's a matter of a new operating system that comes to the fore. Because it's not only limited to that period when we meditate, but it flows into our life. And we live differently because we see differently. And it ties in so beautifully with actually a mysterious passage in Matthew 6. The Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus is saying there, Matthew 6, verses 22 and 23, the eyes are like a lamp for the body. If your eyes are sound, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are no good, your body will be in darkness. So if the light in you is darkness, how terribly dark it will be. He says, the eyes are the lamp for the body. It brings in light into the body. It makes things lighter.
Illuminates.
It illuminates things. The eyes illuminates things. If we take it further, the way we see illuminates things. It makes things
Or
different.
darkens things.
Or
depending
darkens.
on your eyes, on the way that you look.
Yeah.
in.
So if the light in you is darkness, how terribly dark it will be. And that is the sad thing. We get so caught up in our thought processes that has an innate tendency to hook to the negative. To the worst scenarios, the worst that can happen. our own negative evaluation of ourselves, and we over-identify with that, and we say that is reality. But if we change our eyes, if we change the way we see, if we change the operating system, then we look differently. And even though the circumstances don't change, everything changes. It's the strangest thing. It's so beautifully, with centering prayer, they say you have your sacred word. And through your sacred word, it's almost as if you open yourself to a deep awareness of the presence and the activity of God.
Yes. So that word, and by constantly using that word, you are constantly reaffirming that surrendering stance.
Yes.
And just maybe for some that might not know, it's a very short word. Usually one syllable works very well. And it's a word that has meaning for you in terms of what it is that you are going into this practice with. For me, the word is be.
For me, the word is Christ.
Christ. So it's a word that for you personally, you sort of feel your word. It's like you.
There's no magic
there's
power
nothing,
to it.
no,
It's just
a word that you can that you know that you can sit with and use to constantly surrender to this process, this presence and this activity of God in your life.
Because it is always there, and what is lacking is awareness.
Yeah.
And the meditation brings us back to the awareness, not even on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level. It's almost as if we constantly are inoculated into this presence. And it becomes a wider, a more expansive looking at things, because we are not looking with our own eyes, but we tap into this more spacious looking. And the eye becomes light, and the body becomes light. And then this is such a beautiful passage that Jesus is saying. He says, you have to look differently.
See differently.
You have to see differently. Something in you have to change so that you don't get caught up in a dark way of looking, but in a light way of looking. And that is what the meditation is about. It changes our operating system. Matilda used this image of a windshield wiper. As soon as the thoughts come, shoop, shoop, you use your word. And we have to reiterate, we're not saying thoughts are evil, thoughts are bad, but it's a matter of they mustn't rule the roost to such an extent that all else moves to the background. It has to get its proper place. And then from the meditation and the new way of looking, we think differently.
Yeah, because there's more than our consciousness.
Yes.
And by doing this, and it's a physiological fact, and science has proven it, that by doing meditation, you are developing new brain paths that are opening up your consciousness to a wider range of awareness. And I think that is what happens, is there's this narrow seeing of life opens up to something wider and more unified.
Yes.
And it changes everything.
Because if I get snagged in my thoughts, my prayers and my way of looking to a large extent becomes self-referential. It constantly comes back to me. I'm the one that steers things and determines things.
And has to make a plan.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I'm on my own here.
Yes, yes, yes.
So luckily not.
Yeah. So, maybe you have your daily practice, um, or you want to explore this. We often say, just enter the shallow waters. We find that 20 minutes is really a good time for us to be really, really quiet.
And there are really some great apps for your phone.
Yes.
I think you'll post them, and then and it helps because you can set your gongs and your time. You don't need to worry about keeping the time, and that is really helpful as well.
Yeah. And your feedback is always very welcome and appreciated. And it helps us in terms of future talks as well. So keep well on that side. Until next week.
Yeah, have a lovely week, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.